Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, a crowd of more than 1,000 gather on the White House lawn to watch President Trump accept the Republican nomination for president. His message about the clear choice for voters in November still ahead.
And today's the day. If you need a COVID-19 test, you can come on down to Compassion Corner across our station. We'll talk you through the process coming up.
Plus, with most Kern County students now back to school without being back in a classroom, we'll check in with parents about how they feel about distance learning and what they hope to see happen this school year. This is Friday, August 28th, 2020. Good morning, 5 a.m. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen along with Alex Fisher. Things are going to be kicking off outside of our studios shortly here with that big testing site, and we will walk you through the process. Alex is going to take you out there and show you the steps you need to take as you go through to get a test today.
Yeah, we want to reiterate that this is not for people who are showing signs of coronavirus. This is for, you can, of course, if you are showing signs, you can come on down, but this is also for asymptomatic people. It just gives you a better look, gives us a better look, the county, at how the virus is spreading in our community. So we'll get to more on that in just a moment. But first, we're talking about your forecast because we finally made it. It is Friday, and it looks like we're gearing up for the weekend. And hey, we've got some not too hot temperatures in the forecast, right, Kev?
Yeah, no major warm-up in store for us heading into the weekend. Things are going to be somewhat status quo, upper 90s, a few lower 100s. Air quality is improving a little bit for us as well. Let's take you outside right now. We've got 75 degrees in Bakersfield, and our visibility is good, 10 miles, and an east-southeast wind at 5 miles per hour. 55 degrees in Tehachapi right now, an east wind at 5, 10 miles visibility. And talking to Maddie, who lives up in Tehachapi, she said yesterday was a beautiful day up there. So with that indication, I don't think we'll see as much haze up in our mountain community. So sunny skies and temperatures expected into the upper 80s as we go throughout the afternoon.
All right, Kev, thanks so much. New this morning, a person is in the hospital with major injuries after their motorcycle was hit by a car in northeast Bakersfield. CHP reports it happened just before 3:30 this morning at the on-ramp to Highway 178 near the intersection with Fairfax Road. No word from officials this morning on the name of the person who was hospitalized. We'll update you as soon as we learn more information.
And we now know the name of the man who was shot and killed earlier this week in northeast Bakersfield. The shooting happened Tuesday in the 700 block of Water Street near the intersection of Columbus Street and River Boulevard. Deputies responding to the area found the victim suffering from several gunshot wounds. He later died. The coroner identified him as a 30-year-old Tony Gutierrez, Jr. of Bakersfield. KCSO has not announced any suspects in the case. If you have information, you're urged to call KCSO at 861-3110. And the Sheriff's Office is investigating what it's calling a suspicious death in southeast Bakersfield. KCSO got a call of a woman not breathing in the 1000 block of Madison Street around 1:45 yesterday afternoon. When they arrived, they found a 23-year-old woman dead. If you have any information, you're asked to call 861-3110 or the Secret Witness Hotline. That's 322-4040.
Now to the latest numbers on COVID-19 here in Kern County. 4 more lives have been lost to the virus. That means 256 people have died since the beginning of the pandemic back in March. 242 new cases were also announced yesterday. According to Public Health, more than 16,000 people are at home and recovering. Over 220 people are in the hospital and receiving treatment. 43 people are in intensive care. Since March, there have been nearly 29,000 cases of COVID-19 in Kern County. And health experts forecast thousands more people could die during the pandemic. As we stand now, more than 180,000 people have died from coronavirus here in the U.S. That number comes from data compiled by Johns Hopkins University. By September 19th, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention believes more than 200,000 people will die after contracting this virus. By December 1st, we could lose 310,000 Americans. And as those numbers rise, cautious steps from officials on how best to reopen economies throughout the state. 17's Ashley Zavala with more on that and why all GOP senators in Sacramento are now under quarantine.
All but one of California's Republican state senators were prohibited from participating in Thursday's floor session.
And what's more important, the health or for a handful of bills.
Senate Pro Tem Tony Atkins directed Republican senators to stay away from the floor and their offices, saying their presence at the Capitol would be a violation of public health orders. This comes after Senator Brian Jones tested positive for the virus, potentially exposing his colleagues after caucus events earlier in the week. Senate leaders say moving forward, GOP members will be allowed to debate and vote from home.
From the beginning, we've said that science and the public health directives would be the basis for how we in the Senate does and conducts the people's work during the pandemic.
We reached out to Senator Brian Jones's office for an update on his status, but a spokesperson there said they weren't commenting.
Meanwhile, Republican Assemblyman Randy Vopel confirmed in a Facebook post Thursday he is roommates with Senator Jones while working in Sacramento. Vopel stayed off the assembly floor Thursday. His office told us he's fine and awaiting test results. Regardless of Vopel's exposure, work moved forward in the assembly for both parties. But other Republicans in that chamber say they've not been told to quarantine or get tested.
But yet we're still in session, and we see the information being put out that, well, we're doing these precautions and we care about the members and about the staff, but if that were true, we wouldn't be in taking amendments today.
Lawmakers vow to finish their legislative work by the end of session deadline, August 31st. In Sacramento, Ashley Zavala, 17 News.
Police in Delano handed out hundreds of free masks for residents the same night the Delano City Council voted not to pass a citywide mask mandate. Delano police hosted the mask giveaway in the parking lot last night. The department partnered with Adventist Health Delano for the event. Each family received a 5-pack of face coverings free of charge.
I feel like, as the stats show, the Hispanic community is really one of the group of people who have been affected by this virus, and especially since Delano is dominantly Hispanic, I think it's important to raise awareness about what's going on. Not necessarily just that, but just like the whole community in general, that this is a real virus and it's really spreading out there, and it's just important to wear a face mask.
In all, 200 masks were distributed at the giveaway. Governor Newsom's expected to release new state guidelines for reopening today. 2 local businesses that teamed up to stay afloat now plan to protest continued closures in a bid to open next week. The Gardens of Manji and the Euphoria Spa and Salon have both been shut down since COVID spiked again this summer. So they came up with a crafty solution, a win-win, if you will. Euphoria started offering manis, pedis, facials, and massages to the gardens.
Been able to bring back some of our employees, and we've brought back the people on our team who really need to work.
Moving outdoors has been an unpopular idea among other salons in Kern County due to the heat, air quality, and sanitation concerns, but the salon says its first week outdoors has been a success. Salon workers across Kern County are banding together for an Open Salons Now rally. Attendees are asked to meet in front of Senator Shannon Grove's office on Truxton Avenue at 7 this morning. The march runs from 7:30 to 9. Organizers say masks and social distancing are required.
And just a reminder, we're opening up our Compassion Corner this morning for free COVID-19 testing. That's courtesy of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Kern County Public Health Department. Testing begins at 7 o'clock this morning and runs until 6 tonight. Again, that's at 22nd and L Streets. And our thanks to the Kern Community College District for the use of that property. You can park and walk up and swab yourself. You can walk up, but pre-registration is encouraged. For a link on that, you just go to our website, kget.com, and click on the hot link icon. Yeah, I used that link yesterday to make an account. It took me just a few moments. You may remember we kind of showed you the step-by-step process on Sunrise yesterday. So again, it's going to save you time. It's going to save the clinic time, and it's just an easier way for you to get in and out.
Yeah, going to make it go a lot more smoothly.
Welcome back. Back now into education news. The coronavirus pandemic makes education more complicated for parents and their children. But what about teachers? We turn now to 17's Moses Small, who investigated the ways teachers are working through a chaotic school year.
How do you navigate school when your classroom could spark the next outbreak of COVID-19? Educators don't always agree on the answer. So I spoke to 2 educators in Kern County navigating the strangest school year they've ever seen.
Teachers in Kern County are adapting to distance learning. Stacy Fuentes teaches in a local public school. She says she's willing to teach in-person classes as soon as possible, even if that means fighting to stay healthy.
Think about wartime. There are people who have to go to the front line on behalf of the safety and the benefits of others.
She wants parents to consider sending their children to school if they think it's safe.
I will wear a mask and gloves and shield, whatever anybody wants me to wear. So I'm ready to work with kids in person, if parents were ready to send them.
Fuentes says some students struggle with distance learning. She says last spring, as many as 11% of students in South High School reported they didn't have internet at home.
I will definitely say that distance learning has magnified the gaps that we've always known were out there.
This year, Kern County is providing free devices and internet hotspots for students who can't afford them. Krista Herrera works as an administrator for Kern Public Schools. She also has a preschooler taking online classes.
His preschool's open, but he's really home not necessarily because I'm as concerned about his own health, but I'm concerned that he could contract something and then give it to us, or we could give it to my grandparents.
But she knows that may not work for every family.
This situation is working for my child because I've been able to get help. I have a parent at home supporting her, and I have a babysitter supporting my other child, and that's an opportunity that I have that some families don't have.
Herrera and Fuentes say their highest priority is each student's health and education.
Right now, I think that kids need to know that they're cared for, that there's a community out there for them and all of their needs, not just academic needs.
The superintendent's office says there are 9,500 teachers in Kern County, and all of them are going to have to learn how to tackle a school year unlike any they've ever seen. In studio, Moses Small, 17 News.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back in your 17 Business Watch this morning. If you're dreaming of taking your work from home office somewhere else, one hotel chain says now you can. Hyatt's offering a new extended stay package for families, couples, and individuals looking for a change of scenery. The packages start at $139 plus tax per night for a minimum 7-night stay at participating resorts in the U.S., Mexico, and the Caribbean. There are an assortment of workspace options, from a living room for suite accommodations, a connecting room for families to spread out, or private meeting rooms to take important virtual business meetings. Complimentary high-speed Wi-Fi and waived resort fees for a better work-life balance. And if you're in need of a job and a change of scenery, maybe this paid digital detox from satelliteinternet.com is for you. The chosen applicant will get paid $1,000 to give up technology for a weekend while staying in a reimbursed RV rental. Easy, sign me up. The rental will meet the applicant at the national park campsite of their choice. After the winner completes the digital detox, satelliteinternet.com will send you to a mobile hotspot on the third night to share the experience online. Applications are now open through September 23rd. Now that remote work is more common, a growing number of Americans are having second thoughts about where they live. Some are even finding cheap old houses on social media and paying as little as $10,000 for historic fixer-uppers in far-off places. NBC's Liz McLaughlin has more.
My house is pretty affordable. I think it was less than my car.
Betsy Sweeney's new dream home in West Virginia didn't break the bank.
The purchase price of my home was $18,500.
She found the listing on the Cheap Old Houses Instagram feed, which features historic homes under $100,000.
I never expected we would have 1.2 million followers.
A following that's been growing since the start of the pandemic, especially from remote working millennials.
They're more likely to take the kind of risk, move across the country and buy a house they saw on Instagram, which, by the way, many people have done.
Oh my gosh, what are we doing?
Brittany and Dave Radmaker bought their home in Potterville, Michigan, after seeing it on Cheap Old Houses.
We want to be part of a story. There's so much history behind these homes. There's so much character that's involved with a lot of old homes.
The vintage farmhouse on 20 acres is the labor of love for the new homeowners.
This is a kitchen, which will all need to be gutted and replaced.
Who are putting in a lot of elbow grease before they can move in.
The project will always go longer than the time frame that you have cut out for it.
And it will cost more money.
And cost more money than what you allot.
But for the growing Cheap Old Houses movement, saving historic homes is well worth the hassle. Liz McLaughlin, NBC News.
17 News is your local election headquarters, and with protests outside the White House, President Trump wrapped the Republican National Convention last night, declaring a choice between two visions, his and Joe Biden's. Tracy Potts has more from Washington.
With a heart full of gratitude and boundless optimism, I profoundly accept this nomination.
In the political speech of his life, President Trump framed this election as a clear choice.
This election will decide whether we will defend the American way of life or whether we will allow a radical movement to completely dismantle and destroy it.
He launched relentless attacks on Joe Biden.
Biden's record is a shameful roll call of the most catastrophic betrayals and blunders in our lifetime. He has spent his entire career on the wrong side of history.
On trade,
Joe Biden is not a savior of America's soul. He is the destroyer of America's jobs.
On fighting terror,
no one will be safe in Biden's America.
He promised to hold police accountable for misconduct and denounced protests.
We must never allow mob rule.
On the South Lawn, packed with 1,000 supporters, many not wearing masks, the president defended his response to COVID-19.
To save as many lives as possible, we are focusing on the science.
Donald Trump stood idly by. And folks, it was a deadly decision.
The Democrats' response earlier from Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris.
Donald Trump has failed at the most basic and important job of a president of the United States. He failed to protect the American people. Plain and simple.
A stark contrast, a clear choice in 67 days. Tracy Potts, NBC News, Washington.
And Bakersfield's own Kevin McCarthy kicked off the event at the White House, taking an optimistic tone toward the nation's coronavirus evolving response.
Our longtime GOP political analyst Kathy Abernathy was invited to the White House to see the president's acceptance speech in person. Abernathy is president of Western Pacific Research, an influential political firm whose clients include Congressman Kevin McCarthy. Our D.C. Bureau correspondent Kelly Meyer caught up with Abernathy to ask how she felt the night went.
I think outdoors at the White House at night, I've never done that, and I've been working back here many years ago for a long time, so this is something that's going to be really special. But it's not just the color and the lights and the being at the White House. It's that we have a president that it's so important to reelect. If you care about law and order, and I think that's critical right now, and of course getting our economy turned back on.
Abernathy said President Trump has done more problem solving in 3.5 years than Joe Biden has in 47 years in Washington. Federal health officials are keeping a close eye on Kern and other Central Valley counties as coronavirus cases continue to be higher than other parts of the state. I spoke with Dr. Deborah Birx yesterday. She's a leading member of the president's COVID-19 task force. Her concerns are people in our area are gathering and spreading the virus, sometimes unintentionally.
This particular virus really preys on people with pre-existing conditions, and they have a much more difficult course. And the mortality rates for people that are over 30, over 35, the mortality rates are significantly greater than flu. So this is not flu. I think what's complicating to many people, and I know it's confusing, because it's very unusual to have a virus that goes from very little disease evidence as in asymptomatic individuals to mild disease to flu-like disease to extraordinarily severe disease and hospitalizations and a significant number of individuals mortality and fatalities. That's unusual.
Dr. Birx says she's concerned there could be higher infection rates following Labor Day if people do not social distance and wear a mask. You can watch my full interview uncut on our website, kget.com.
5:37 is your time now. We're expecting new state guidelines to be released this morning from Governor Gavin Newsom about reopening businesses in various counties. Many local businesses are struggling in the wake of shutdowns due to COVID-19, and some are demanding to be allowed to open as soon as possible.
Teen Challenge is offering up some free eats today, though you can't physically attend the fairgrounds this year like normal. Teen Challenge will sell kettle corn, apple, and peach dumplings, plus drinks at their center on East Roberts Lane. The Curbside Fair Food Frenzy will be every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through September 20th. This fundraiser will help Teen Challenge continue its support services for young people struggling with addiction. And local organizations are teaming up to offer free food for those who need it in Lamont. Organizers will pass out the free eats at St. Augustine Church on Myrtle Avenue today. The event starts at 9 a.m. and will last as long as food is available. For more information, you can call organizers at 877-369-2828. And if you've got food to spare, the Kiwanis Clubs of Kern County are gathering food for a local food bank, and they need your help. They're hosting food drives tomorrow from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. in several locations in Bakersfield and Tehachapi. They're asking donors to drop off non-perishable food and supplies to benefit the Cap K Food Bank. For a list of drop-off sites, just head to our website, kget.com.
Welcome back. It's been just over 24 hours now since Hurricane Laura, a deadly Category 4 storm, made landfall in southwest Louisiana. Jay Gray rode out the storm in Lake Charles, Louisiana, one of the areas hardest hit, and he has the latest on the damage.
At first glance, it has the appearance of a child's messy playroom, cars and trucks scattered on their sides. But a closer look and it's clear, this mess is no game.
There's so much damage here. You're going, this is a disaster area. You know, I mean, it's a literal disaster.
From Cameron, where the massive storm came ashore, through Lake Charles, the devastation from Laura stretches for miles.
This was the most powerful storm to ever make landfall in Louisiana.
A Category 4 hurricane with sustained winds of 150 miles an hour, ripping apart homes and businesses, literally pulling trees from the ground, snapping power poles, scattering and twisting lines, most of the area still without electricity. Communities, and we now know families, cut to their core. At least 6 people killed in the storm, and officials fear that number could grow.
Certainly, I'm concerned that as we continue to go out and do primary and secondary search and rescue, we're going to find more fatalities. I hope not.
Survivors now working to piece together what Laura left behind, the hurricane tearing away most everything here, except
we will rebuild. We always do.
It's a strength this community will need for what's sure to be a long and very difficult recovery here. Jay Gray, NBC News, Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.